Good afternoon, my fellow classmates. My name is Jacob Robinson. In this video, my partner, Alex Durham, and I will be discussing who we believe is the greatest leader of all time. Now, our choice for a leader is very weird. It's not someone who you would usually think of, but it has to do with one major battle, and that is D-Day. On June 6, 1944, the Allied forces invaded Normandy in what would begin the conquering of Europe to take away from the Nazi forces. However, after D-Day, there were many other battles that were fought, and they were led by this man. That man was George S. Patton, one of the greatest generals in American history. And now we're going to discuss why we believe he is the greatest leader of all time. George Patton's approach to leadership really started with task-oriented leadership. He wanted his men to get the job done. He wasn't worried about forming relationships with his men, and as we discussed earlier in the semester, when you're in the military, you have to have a single goal, and sometimes hard discipline and respect is that way to get control. And George Patton did just that with his men. Now, the second reason for this is also very unorthodox, and it has to do with charisma, which we just talked about. George Patton usually often went into battles wearing very bright gear. He didn't wear the normal general's uniform. He wanted to wear bright, colorful colors to inspire his men. And in one case, he actually climbed on top of a tank that was heading into a German-occupied village to inspire his men. That's weird, and that's crazy, but it happened, and it worked.
As Jacob said, my name is Alex Durham, and we are here to tell you why George Patton is one of the greatest leaders of all time. While it is true that General Patton was a very tough, task-oriented leader, it is also true that his leadership inspired strong cohesiveness and camaraderie in his ranks. Through his leadership, the men under him developed great relationships and were able to work together beautifully. Patton also discouraged groupthink, famously stating that if everyone is thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking. He wanted the individuals in his army to have a level of autonomy in their duties. He once said, "Never tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do, and they'll surprise you with their ingenuity." He led in such a way that his men were able to utilize their individuality and at the same time perform effectively as a team. Patton also believed in leading from the front and getting his hands dirty with his men. He did this so he could experience and understand for himself what it was he was asking of them. He was known well for saying that no good decision was ever made from a swivel chair. Patton put a lot of time into listening not only to his officers, but any man under his command that needed to speak with him. He had faith in his men and knew that they were capable of contributing valuable information and perspectives. He won very important battles in Europe by trusting that his men could carry out his bold strategies. His way of interacting with his men inspired great trust and confidence in his leadership. It was this trust, combined with the faith that he had in his men, that allowed General George Patton to successfully complete the largest invasion in human history, drive back the Nazis, and successfully liberate Europe and the world from an extreme evil. Without General Patton, the world may never have been rid of the fascist tyranny of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis that followed him. I'll leave you with one last quote from the man we believe to be the greatest leader in history. War may be fought with weapons, but it is won by men. It is the spirit of men who follow and of the one that leads that gains the victory. Thank you.